Devil May Cry 5. So Devil May Cry 5 is just one of those games, man. You pick it up, play for like 5 minutes, and immediately go, yep, this is some peak action gaming right here. It's got that smooth, addictive combat that just feels better the more you play. Every hit, every dodge, every insane mid-air combo. There's this level of polish that makes you feel like an absolute god once you start getting the hang of it. And the best part is, no matter how crazy skilled you get, the game always pushes you to go even further. You land a sick combo, and instead of thinking, nice, I did it, you immediately start thinking about how you can make it look even cooler next time. That's the kind of game this is, and the variety is just insane. You don't just get one playstyle and stick with it. You've got 3 completely different characters, each with their own ridiculous movesets. Nero is the easiest to get into. He's got that grappling hook arm that lets him pull enemies in or launch himself straight at them, plus his sword revs up like a damn motorcycle to add extra damage to his swings. And then there's his devil breakers, which are basically these crazy robotic arms that give him new abilities depending on which one he's got equipped. You can shoot a massive energy beam, freeze time, ride a freaking rocket punch like a skateboard. It's just pure chaos in the best way possible. And then there's Dante. I don't even know where to start with this dude. He's got so many weapons and fighting styles that it almost feels illegal. One second you're slicing through demons with a sword, the next you're juggling them in the air with dual pistols, and then out of nowhere you pull out a goddamn motorcycle that splits in half and turns into 2 giant chainsaws. And that's not even mentioning his different combat styles that let you change how he moves and attacks mid-fight. Trickster gives him crazy mobility, Swordmaster unlocks even more ridiculous melee moves, Gunslinger turns his ranged weapons into something out of an anime, and Royal Guard lets you block and counter like some kind of god-tier parry master. The animations alone make combat satisfying. There's just something about the way Dante twirls his sword or Nero revs up his Red Queen that makes you want to keep playing just to see how smooth everything looks. The Saboteur. Alright, imagine this. You're in Paris during World War II, but everything looks sad and lifeless. The whole city is black and white, and the only color you see is the bright red of Nazi banners everywhere. But don't worry, you're not just some random guy. You're Sean Devlin, an Irish dude who's angry, fast, and ready to fight back. Sean is a race car driver, but after some bad stuff goes down, he decides to stop racing and start blowing things up. His goal? Kick the Nazis out of Paris one explosion at a time. And here's the cool part. When you destroy Nazi bases, rescue people, or take back the city, the black and white world turns colorful again. It's like you're literally bringing hope back just by doing your thing. You're not just running in with guns blazing though, you're a saboteur, which means you gotta be sneaky. You can wear disguises, climb buildings like a parkour pro, and set off explosives when nobody's looking. But if they catch you, run like hell, steal a car, or climb up a rooftop and disappear. And speaking of cars, the driving is awesome. Sean knows how to handle a vehicle, so you can speed through the streets, escape shootouts, or just race around for fun. And when things get bad, jump out, pull out your gun, and start blasting. The whole game makes you feel like you're in an old school spy movie. The music, the sneaky missions, the huge explosions, it all feels super cool. And the story? At first Sean just wants revenge, but as he fights he starts caring about the people and the city, and that makes everything feel important. The Saboteur is an underrated gem. It's got stealth, action, racing, climbing, explosions, and a world that literally changes based on what you do. It's fun, unique, and still worth playing today. Middle-earth: Shadow of War. You are Talion, a warrior with a powerful elf spirit inside him. Your goal is simple: build an army and take down Sauron. But this is not just a normal fight. You are not just a soldier, you are a leader of war. The world is huge. There are mountains, dark fortresses, burning lands, and everywhere you go, there are orcs, battles, and danger. Some orcs fear you, some want revenge, and some just won't die no matter how many times you defeat them. Fighting is fast and brutal. You swing your sword, shoot arrows, and jump across battlefields like a true warrior. You can freeze time, teleport, summon beasts, and even bend the minds of your enemies. You don't just fight, you control the battlefield. And the best part? The orcs are not just enemies, they have stories. Every orc you face remembers you. If one defeats you, they get stronger, meaner, and hungrier for more blood. If you burn one, they come back scarred and furious. Some will beg to serve you, some will betray you when you least expect it, and some will become your most loyal warriors. You are not just fighting, you are building an army. You take over strongholds, send spies into enemy camps, and lead massive sieges where hundreds of soldiers fight at once. Every battle is different because the orcs have their own plans, their own grudges, and their own ways of fighting back. The world feels alive, the battles feel real, and every choice changes what happens next. No two players will have the same experience. Cyberpunk 2077. Night City never sleeps. The streets are packed with people, neon signs flash from every corner, and danger is around every turn. This place is wild, unforgiving, and full of opportunity. If you're willing to risk everything for it, you step into the boots of V, a mercenary trying to climb to the top. But things go bad fast. A high-tech chip ends up in your head, and inside it, Johnny Silverhand, a long-dead rock star with a grudge against the system. Now he's in your mind and you have one mission: survive before he takes over completely. Every alley, every club, every corporate tower in Night City feels alive. The world doesn't wait for you. People are working, fighting, and living their own lives. Some want your help, others want you gone, and a few might change your life forever. Fights are fast and brutal. You can gun down enemies, hack their cyberware, or get up close with blades. Mods let you slow down time, punch through walls, or even disable weapons from a distance. The game lets you build your own playstyle: silent assassin, all-out shooter, or high-tech hacker. Cars and bikes let you tear through the city at high speed. One second you're cruising past neon-lit skyscrapers, the next you're racing through dusty wastelands, dodging bullets and explosions. But the real magic? The choices you make shape everything. Who you trust, who you betray, and how you handle situations changes your story. No two playthroughs are the same, and the world reacts to everything you do. Cyberpunk 2077 had a rough start, but now, with big updates and the Phantom Liberty expansion, it has become one of the best open-world RPGs out there. A game full of action, heart, and unforgettable moments. Spider-Man 2. Swinging through New York City feels amazing. You jump off buildings, shoot webs, and fly through the air so fast. The city looks real, with cars, people, and lights everywhere. This time, you play as two Spider-Men, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. You can switch between them anytime, and each one has different powers. Peter has the symbiote suit, making him strong and aggressive, while Miles has electric venom powers that shock enemies. The fighting is fast and fun. You punch, dodge, shoot webs, and use crazy new moves. Enemies come in big groups, and every fight feels exciting. The villains are dangerous. Kraven the Hunter is looking for the strongest fighters in the city, and he won't stop until he finds them. But the biggest threat? Venom. When he arrives, everything changes, and Peter has to fight not just the enemy, but also himself. If you love superheroes, fast web swinging, and big boss fights, Spider-Man 2 is one of the best games you can play. Shadows of Doubt.
Now there's a new kind of killer in town.
So, Shadows of Doubt is one of those games that just pulls you in. It's a detective sim set in a dark, futuristic city where everything is procedural, which basically means every building, every person, every crime is randomly generated every time you play. So, yeah, no two cases are ever the same, which is pretty cool. You play as a private detective, and your job? Solve crimes. Could be a murder, could be a break-in, could be something even bigger. How you go about it? Totally up to you. You can be the classic detective, carefully piecing together clues, checking security cameras, breaking into apartments, scanning fingerprints, reading emails, you name it. Or, if you're feeling a little chaotic, you can just kick down doors, bribe people, or hack into systems to get what you need. The game doesn't really stop you from doing things your way, and that's what makes it feel so alive. And speaking of alive, the city, it's insane. Every NPC has their own daily routine. They wake up, go to work, grab a coffee, come home, sleep. It all just happens around you. So if you're tailing a suspect, you gotta be smart about it. Wait outside their job, follow them home, sneak in when they're asleep. There's a real detective feel to it.
Keeps better records than a crook. A killer.
actual detective work, super detailed. You've got a big evidence board where you pin up clues, connect people, track locations. It's like being in one of those detective movies where the guy is staring at a wall covered in red strings. And it's not just for show. You really do need to connect the dots to solve cases. If you're lazy and just randomly accuse someone, yeah, that's gonna backfire badly. But okay, it's not perfect. Since everything is procedurally generated, sometimes things can feel a bit off, like weird NPC behaviors or cases that don't fully make sense. And the game kind of just throws you in with no hand-holding, so if you're expecting a step-by-step guide on how to be a detective, well, good luck. But honestly, that's part of what makes it so engaging. Overall, Shadows of Doubt is one of those games where if you love solving mysteries, sneaking around, and piecing things together like a real detective, you're gonna have a blast. It's deep, immersive, and every case feels like your own little story. If you're into detective stuff, this is 100% worth checking out. Batman Arkham City. Man, Arkham City is something special. If you've ever wanted to feel like Batman, this game nails it. It takes everything that made Arkham Asylum great and cranks it up to 11. A bigger world, crazier villains, and some of the best combat in any game. So, the setup? Gotham has done the dumbest thing possible. They took part of the city, walled it off, and threw all the criminals inside, turning it into a lawless prison. And surprise, surprise, everything goes horribly wrong. You get thrown in there as Bruce Wayne, and within minutes you're suited up as Batman, trying to stop Hugo Strange, Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, and a bunch of other Gotham lunatics who are all up to no good. The open world is just chef's kiss. You're not just running around, you're gliding, grappling, diving off buildings, and it all feels smooth as hell. You can drop into street fights, save civilians, or just lurk on rooftops watching criminals panic. And the combat? Perfection. This is the game that set the standard for action combat in modern games. Punch, counter, dodge, combo, use gadgets mid-fight. It's all so fluid. When you get into a rhythm, you feel unstoppable. Like you're really taking down thugs with skill instead of just button mashing. Then there's the stealth. If combat makes you feel powerful, sneaking makes you feel like a ghost. You drop from rafters, take out enemies one by one, jam their weapons, or just straight up terrify them. There's nothing more satisfying than watching the last guy panic because all his friends vanished into the shadows. The villains steal the show. Joker is at his absolute best here, Penguin is brutal, and Mr. Freeze, one of the best boss fights ever. Every villain has their own story, their own presence, and the way they're woven into the world makes everything feel alive. And the story? Top tier Batman. It keeps you hooked from start to finish, with twists, betrayals, and some emotional moments that hit hard. Honestly, Arkham City is one of the best superhero games ever made. If you like Batman, open world action, or just great games in general, this is a must play. Far Cry 4. Alright, so Far Cry 4 is one of those games that absolutely nails the open world experience. The world is huge, beautiful, and packed with things to do, but at the same time, the story kind of falls short. Let's break it down. So, the game throws you into Kira, a fictional Himalayan country torn apart by a civil war. You play as Ajay Ghale, a guy who just wanted to spread his mom's ashes, but somehow gets caught in a brutal conflict between a rebel group, the Golden Path, and the game's villain, Pegamin. Now, let's talk about that world. Kyrat is stunning. Snowy mountains, dense jungles, villages, rivers. It all looks amazing, and every part of the map feels alive. Animals roam around, enemies patrol the roads, random events happen all the time. You never really know what's gonna happen when you're out exploring, which keeps things exciting. And the gameplay? Super fun. You can go in guns blazing, or you can sneak in with a bow, set traps, and take out enemies one by one. The game gives you tons of options. Use explosives, ride elephants into battle, or even fly around in a tiny helicopter. It's classic Far Cry chaos, and it never gets old. But then, there's the story, and yeah, it's not great. Pegamin is an awesome villain and he steals the show every time he's on screen, but the problem? He barely shows up. Most of the story missions are just standard Far Cry stuff. Go here, blow this up, take over that base. The rebels you're helping? Honestly, kinda forgettable. You make choices between two leaders in the Golden Path, but neither of them really feel like good options, so the choices don't feel as important as they should. Also, the game plays it too safe. It's basically Far Cry 3 with a new setting. If you've played that, this game feels very familiar. The open world is better, but the overall structure, pretty much the same. That being said, if you love exploring, causing chaos, and taking down enemy outposts in fun, creative ways, Far Cry 4 delivers. The world and gameplay carry the whole experience, even if the story doesn't really hit as hard as it could. If you're here for the story, it might leave you wanting more. But if you just want to mess around in a giant open world, fight bad guys, and blow stuff up in the most ridiculous ways possible, Far Cry 4 is a blast. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If you're looking for a game that will easily keep you hooked for over 100 hours, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a no-brainer. This sequel doesn't just build on the foundation of Remake, it massively expands it in almost every way. The world is larger, the combat is deeper, and the amount of content packed into the game is absolutely staggering. Right from the start, Rebirth makes it clear that it's aiming for epic scale. The game's semi-open world design lets you freely explore large, detailed regions filled with side quests, hidden bosses, and lore-rich discoveries. Whether you're tracking down rare materia, hunting challenging monsters, or simply wandering off the beaten path, you'll constantly find yourself distracted by new activities. Even simple detours like chocobo racing or minigames will have you burning through hours without realizing it. The combat system is another area where Rebirth shines. It blends real-time action with tactical strategy, creating battles that feel cinematic but still require careful planning. The addition of tag team synergy abilities gives combat even more depth, making it feel dynamic and rewarding. Each character has their own playstyle, and learning to perfectly time team-up attacks becomes incredibly satisfying, especially in the late-game encounter. But what really makes Final Fantasy VII Rebirth such a massive time sink is the sheer amount of side content. The game is packed with optional bosses, weapon upgrades, and hidden materia that will have you constantly backtracking and experimenting with new builds. And if you're the kind of player who likes to fully immerse yourself in the world, you'll spend countless hours completing side missions, participating in mini-games, and exploring every corner of the map. The story itself is also much larger and more ambitious than Remake. It takes deeper narrative detours, fleshing out characters, and adding entirely new arcs. The emotional moments hit harder, and the expanded character development makes you genuinely care about the cast, whether it's Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, or even the more minor characters. For players who want to experience everything Rebirth has to offer, including all the side content, secret bosses, and post-game challenges, you're easily looking at 100 and 150 plus hours of gameplay. And the best part, the game stays consistently engaging throughout. The mix of exploration, combat, and character moments makes it incredibly easy to lose track of time. If you're after a massive single-player experience with a ton of depth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will completely consume your free time, and you'll be glad it did. Ghost of Tsushima. There aren't many games that make you stop mid-quest just to stare at the scenery, but Ghost of Tsushima does. It's the kind of game where you'll be riding through a forest of golden leaves or across a misty shoreline and suddenly forget you're supposed to be saving your homeland. The world is just that breathtaking. But don't let the pretty flowers fool you. This game will keep you busy for well over 100 hours if you want to see everything. What makes Tsushima so addictive isn't just the gorgeous open world, though it's how alive it feels. You're constantly stumbling onto hidden shrines, freeing villages from Mongol invaders, or following foxes to secret charms. And even though the map is massive, it never feels empty. Every corner has something worth exploring, whether it's a piece of lore, a duel against a wandering swordsman, or a scenic cliff you'll spend way too long admiring. And then there's the combat, which is where the game really gets its hooks into you. It's sharp, stylish, and incredibly satisfying. The duels feel like something straight out of a samurai film, with Jin and his enemies circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When you time a perfect parry and cut your opponent down in one clean slash, you'll feel like a legend, and the stance system adds real depth, forcing you to switch fighting styles on the fly based on your enemy. It keeps the combat fresh and tactical, even 50 hours in. But where Tsushima really eats up your time is in its side content. You'll swear you're only gonna do the main story, but before you know it, you're chasing foxes, tracking down haikus, and wiping out every Mongol camp on the island. Then there's the Iki Island expansion, which adds a new region with tougher enemies, more side quests, and a storyline that actually expands Jin's character. Fallout 4.
We got a dog, baby.
You don't just play Fallout 4, you basically move into it. This game is so massive and packed with content that it'll swallow your free time whole without you even noticing. One minute you're following the main story, trying to find your kidnapped son, and the next thing you know, you've spent 3 hours building a settlement and still haven't made it past the second quest. What makes Fallout 4 so dangerously time-consuming is the sheer amount of freedom and distractions it throws at you. You'll start by simply wandering around the wasteland, but then you'll spot a creepy abandoned building and just have to see what's inside. Next thing you know, you're looting raider camps, hacking terminals, and unlocking secret vaults filled with crazy lore. And that's just you getting sidetracked. The actual main game is massive on its own, with a long, branching story that changes based on your choices. The combat and progression are also ridiculously addicting. The VATC system, which lets you freeze time and target specific body parts, makes every fight feel cinematic and strategic, even when you're just gunning down random bandits. But the real fun comes from building your character. Whether you want to be a stealthy sniper, power armor tank, or a smooth-talking con artist, the perk system lets you create wildly different playstyles, making every run feel unique.
Do I look like I can afford that?
All right, $250.
And then there's the settlement building, which is basically a whole game on its own. You can construct houses, defenses, and entire thriving communities out of the random junk you find. What starts as you placing a couple of turrets turns into you designing a fully functioning town with shops, farms, and defenses. And the best part, you'll spend hours doing it even though you were supposed to be saving the world. The DLCs make the game even bigger. Far Harbor adds a massive fog-covered island with its own creepy mystery, while Nuka World throws you into a lawless theme park run by raiders, which feels like a game within a game. Even the Workshop DLCs add new building mechanics and gadgets, giving settlement builders even more ways to lose track of time. Halo: The Master Chief Collection. Halo: The Master Chief Collection is basically an entire universe in one package. It's not just one game, it's 6 full Halo campaigns, along with a massive multiplayer mode that could easily swallow your free time for weeks or months. Whether you're reliving the classic campaigns, exploring the deep lore, or getting destroyed in PvP by players who've been sweating since 2001, this collection has enough content to keep you hooked forever. First off, the campaigns alone will eat up dozens of hours, especially if you're playing through them on heroic or legendary difficulty. You've got Halo Combat Evolved, which still holds up with its open-ended level design and sci-fi mystery vibes. Then there's Halo 2, which is an absolute masterpiece of storytelling with its dual protagonist setup and darker tone. Halo 3 ramps things up with its cinematic action and epic finale, while Halo 4 brings a more emotional, character-driven story that hits surprisingly hard. And then you've got Reach and ODST, both of which offer fantastic side stories with more grounded, human perspectives that make the Halo universe feel even richer. And if you're a completionist, this game is basically designed to ruin your productivity. There are hundreds of achievements, skulls to find, and terminals that flesh out the deep Halo lore. You'll end up replaying levels to find hidden collectibles, trying to beat missions under par time, or going for those brutal, lazo, legendary all skulls on runs, which will drive you insane but somehow keep you coming back. The mod support adds even more replay value. You can tweak the game to your liking, add new campaigns, or mess around with fan-made mods that completely transform the experience. The MCC basically gives you infinite ways to play, whether you want to relive the original campaigns, battle it out in multiplayer, or mess around with custom game insanity. If you're the type of player who wants to do everything, you're easily looking at 150 plus hours of gameplay here. The campaigns alone could take 60 to 80 hours if you do them all on higher difficulties, and the multiplayer could keep you going for years. Even after you finish the story, you'll probably keep coming back just to blast through the multiplayer maps with friends, or get lost in the modding community's endless creations. Persona 3 Reload.
Come! Persona!
Persona 3 Reload isn't just a game, it's an entire second life. Once you dive into it, you'll lose track of time completely, spending dozens of hours balancing dungeon crawling, socializing, and just vibing in its moody, stylish world. Whether you're fighting shadows in the midnight hour, hanging out with your classmates, or just trying to get through midterms, the game constantly pulls you into its loop, and suddenly, you've sunk over 100 hours without even noticing. At its core, Persona 3 Reload is a JRPG mixed with a life simulator, and both parts are equally addicting. During the day, you'll you'll be going to school, building friendships, and boosting your social stats. You'll spend time with different characters like your loyal dorm mates, eccentric classmates, and people you randomly meet around town. Each bond you build isn't just for fun, it unlocks new persona fusions and makes your character stronger in combat. But here's the thing, the characters are so well written that you'll actually get attached to them. You'll want to see every side story, not because you need the bonus stats, but because you genuinely care about their lives. And then at night, everything takes a darker turn. You'll enter Tartarus, this massive, ever-changing tower filled with creepy monsters, haunting music, and a strange, dreamlike atmosphere. The combat is classic turn-based JRPG action, but it's got a ton of depth. You'll switch between different personas, each with their own elemental powers and abilities, while exploiting enemy weaknesses to chain together devastating combos. The more you play, the more strategic and addictive the combat becomes. But what really makes Persona 3 Reload such a time sink is the constant sense of progression. You're always leveling up your personas, unlocking new abilities, and customizing your party. Even outside of combat, you'll be working on your social stats like charm, courage, and academics, so you can unlock even more dialogue options and relationship events. There's always something to improve, unlock, or experience, which makes it impossible to put down. And while the original Persona 3 was already a masterpiece, Reload takes everything to the next level. The visuals have been completely overhauled, making the world look far more vibrant and detailed, while the music has been re-recorded, giving the game a fresh yet familiar vibe. The expanded voice acting and extra story scenes also make the characters feel more fleshed out, pulling you even deeper into the story. But here's the kicker, if you're aiming for a completionist run, you're easily looking at 130, 150 plus hours. Between maxing out all social links, fully exploring Tartarus, completing side quests, and fusing every persona, the game constantly gives you reasons to keep playing. Even when you finish the main story, you'll probably start a new game plus just to experience the alternate social link outcomes and different choices.
Only one left.
You showed them Aragaki-senpai?
Sure.
That's 2 for 1!
Persona!
That's a win for the team!
Let's get going.
Good job, everyone!
Metal Gear Solid V: The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is one of those games where you'll load it up just to do a quick mission and somehow end up sinking 5 hours into it without even realizing. It's not because of some crazy non-stop action, in fact most of the game is pretty slow and methodical, but it's the freedom and flexibility that keeps you hooked. Every mission is basically a massive playground, and there are so many ways to approach it that you'll keep coming back just to mess around. The core gameplay loop is what makes it so addictive. You'll be sneaking into enemy bases, knocking out guards, and extracting soldiers, vehicles, and even animals back to your base, and thanks to the open-ended level design, you can tackle objectives however you want. You can go in guns blazing, clear the place out with airstrikes and rocket launchers, or take the slow, stealthy route, marking every enemy with your binoculars and picking them off one by one. There's no right way to do anything, and that's what makes it so fun. Every mission feels like your own unique story, and the tools you have make the game stupidly fun to experiment with. You'll unlock tons of weapons, gadgets, and vehicles, but the real star is the Fulton recovery system. You can strap a balloon to literally anything, guards, trucks, machine gun turrets, goats, and watch them get yanked into the sky while they scream in confusion. It never gets old. But what really sucks you in is the base building and management. Every time you extract a soldier or vehicle, they get sent back to Mother Base, which you can expand and upgrade. You'll be recruiting specialists, improving your R&D department, and developing better weapons and gear. It gives the game a weirdly addictive strategy layer, where you'll keep doing side ops just to bring in more elite soldiers or rare resources. And while the story itself is a bit disjointed, it's still packed with classic Metal Gear moments. You've got over-the-top boss fights, dramatic cutscenes, and weird, creepy supernatural elements mixed with gritty military realism. Even if you don't fully understand the lore, because let's be real, who does, you'll still get swept up in the emotional moments and Kojima's signature brand of bizarre storytelling.
Pull the trigger.
Days Gone.
We don't have hope.
Days Gone is one of those games that sneaks up on you. At first, it just seems like another zombie game, but the more you play, the more you realize it's way deeper than that. It's not just about fighting off freakers, zombies, it's about surviving in a brutal world, holding on to hope, and watching your character slowly break and rebuild. And because the game is huge and packed with things to do, you'll probably spend over 100 hours without even realizing it. The open world itself is what pulls you in. It's grim, lonely, and strangely beautiful. You'll be riding your motorcycle across forests, mountains, mountains and abandoned towns, and while it looks peaceful at times, you're always one bad decision away from disaster. You'll run into ambushes, traps, or massive freaker hordes, and you'll have to think fast or get absolutely wrecked. The game constantly keeps you on edge, making every ride feel dangerous but exciting. And man, the freaker hordes are no joke. The first time you stumble across one, you'll probably panic and run for your life. These aren't your typical slow zombies. They're fast, aggressive, and absolutely relentless. The game doesn't ease you into them either. You'll be minding your own business and suddenly hear hundreds of freakers screaming in the distance, charging at you like a tidal wave of death. It's terrifying and thrilling, and even when you're powerful, they never stop being a genuine threat. But it's not just about the action. The story and characters actually hit surprisingly hard. You play as Deacon St. John, a drifter and biker who's haunted by the loss of his wife. At first, he comes off as cold and reckless, but as the game goes on, you see his layers. He's loyal, vulnerable, and genuinely broken, which makes his journey really personal. The relationship between Deacon and his best friend Boozer is easily one of the highlights. Their brotherly bond feels real, and watching them struggle with loss, hope, and survival makes the story surprisingly emotional. And let's talk about the crafting and survival mechanics, because that's where the game really shines. You'll scavenge for parts, craft molotovs, traps, and ammo, and constantly repair your bike. And your bike? It's basically a character of its own. You'll upgrade it, paint it, and treat it like your lifeline, because without it, you're screwed. Running out of gas in the middle of nowhere is genuinely terrifying, especially when you're low on ammo and surrounded by freakers. The game's also packed with side content. You'll clear out enemy camps, hunt for collectibles, and take on side missions that sometimes feel just as meaningful as the main quest. There's also a real sense of progression. As you upgrade Deacon's skills and your gear, you'll go from barely surviving to taking on entire hordes like a total badass. Dragon Age Inquisition. Right from the start, the game makes you feel important. The sky rips open with a giant magical tear called the Breach, and demons start pouring into the world. It's basically magic apocalypse time. And guess what? You, just some random person, end up with a magical mark on your hand that can close these rifts. Now suddenly, everyone decides you're the chosen one. No pressure or anything. You're put in charge of the Inquisition, a group that's supposed to stop the chaos and save the world. And somehow, you're expected to fix everything while still being broke and getting attacked by bandits. The world is absolutely massive. You'll explore forests, snowy mountains, deserts, and even swamps, and each place feels totally different. The coolest part is, it doesn't feel empty. You'll constantly find things to do, like hidden treasures, secret dungeons, or random events that make the world feel alive and unpredictable. You'll be riding through the countryside thinking you're heading to a main quest, but you'll get distracted by a cool looking ruin, and suddenly you're doing side quests for 3 hours. Now let's talk about the combat, because it's actually really fun. You can play it like an action game, controlling one character and fighting in real time, or you can pause the battle and give commands to your whole team. This makes fights feel way more strategic. And the best part, the game lets you experiment with different builds. You can be a sword-swinging tank, a stealthy rogue, or a mage who zaps enemies with lightning. Plus, as you level up, you unlock special skills that make your character feel more powerful. It's super satisfying when you finally take down a dragon after carefully planning your attacks. Speaking of choices, this game is all about them. You'll make huge decisions that actually change the world around you. You might side with one faction over another, or choose who lives and who dies. And the game remembers what you did, so you'll see the consequences of your actions later on. You'll want to replay it just to see how different choices play out.
It grows larger with each passing hour.
Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5 is the kind of game where you'll sit down for a quick session and suddenly it's been 6 hours and you're running a taxi service, managing a ramen shop, and somehow also fighting a bear. It's massive, unpredictable, and filled with so much content, you'll constantly find yourself sidetracked by random activities and you'll love every second of it. The story is wild and ambitious. This time you're not just playing as Kazuma Kiryu, you'll also step into the shoes of 4 other characters, each with their own unique fighting styles and personal stories. Kiryu, who's trying to live a quiet life as a taxi driver, gets dragged back into the crime world when the Tojo clan's troubles resurface. And then there's Taiga Sayajima, the hulking beast of a man who fights his way through the snowy mountains, literally brawling with a frickin' bear at one point. You also play as Shun Akiyama, the smooth-talking loan shark with fast, flashy combat moves. And finally, Tatsuo Shinada, a washed-up former baseball player who gets tangled up in a conspiracy as he tries to clear his name. But the most surprising twist? You also play as Haruka, Kiryu's adoptive daughter. Instead of punching thugs, she's chasing her dream of becoming a pop idol, which means her entire section is a rhythm-based dance showdown. It's a huge departure from the usual Yakuza action, but somehow it's still ridiculously fun. You'll be competing in dance battles, winning over fans, and training for the big stage, all while getting caught up in shady industry drama. The combat in Yakuza 5 is better than ever, with each character bringing their own style. Kiryu is the all-around powerhouse, able to chain combos and pull off brutal heat actions. Saejima is slower, but hits like a freight train, smashing through groups of enemies. Akiyama's fast, acrobatic style lets you juggle enemies mid-air, making him feel super slick. And Shinada, his wild, scrappy fighting is surprisingly fun, with grappling moves and baseball bat skills that make him stand out. But what really makes Yakuza 5 special is the insane amount of side content. You'll easily spend dozens of hours just goofing off and having a blast. You can race taxis with Kiryu in full-on street racing showdowns, go hunting in the snowy wilderness with Saejima, tracking and taking down wild animals, enter dance battles as Haruka, where you'll face off against rival idols in rhythm game-style duels. And also, you'll explore 5 massive locations, each with its own vibe and activities. You've got Kamurocho's neon-lit streets, Nagoya's rougher edges, and the snowy, quiet town of Tsukimino, which gives off some serious Yakuza meets Silent Hill vibes. The Long Dark. The Long Dark is one of those games that quietly sneaks up on you, and before you know it, you're completely obsessed. You'll start off just trying to survive for a day or two, and suddenly it's been 15 hours and you're carefully rationing your last can of beans while hiding from a pack of wolves. It's slow, methodical, and brutally realistic, but somehow impossible to put down. The game drops you into the frozen wilderness of Canada after a mysterious geomagnetic event shuts down all technology. No cars, no phones, no help, just you, the freezing cold, and nature trying to kill you. You're not some super soldier or action hero, you're just an ordinary person, which makes every small victory feel massive. Finding a single can of soup or a worn out pair of gloves feels like winning the lottery, because everything in this game is out to get you: the weather, the wildlife, and even your own poor planning. The atmosphere is absolutely haunting. The world is quiet, eerie, and lonely. No music, just the howling wind, the crunch of snow under your boots, and the distant howl of wolves that immediately makes you clutch your rifle a little tighter. The visuals are simple but beautiful. The stylized, painterly art style makes the world look like a frozen painting with vibrant sunsets, frozen lakes, and snow-covered forests. But don't let the beauty fool you, this game is downright merciless. The survival mechanics are the real star of the show. You'll need to constantly manage your temperature, hunger, thirst, and fatigue, and every decision feels like it matters. Do you risk crossing a frozen lake to reach a cabin, or do you play it safe and stick to the forest, even though it'll take twice as long? Do you eat your last candy bar now, or save it for when you're truly starving? The game never holds your hand, it just throws you into the wilderness and watches you struggle. And the wildlife? Oh man, it's not here for decoration, it's here to end you. Wolves will stalk you relentlessly, and if you get too close, they'll rush you without hesitation. If you survive the fight, you'll probably still bleed out unless you patch yourself up fast. And then there are the bears, which are just terrifying. The moment you spot one in the distance, you'll start planning your escape route, because you definitely don't want to run into one without a rifle. But it's not just about fighting to survive, it's about adapting and thriving. You'll learn to hunt deer, set traps for rabbits, and carefully craft clothing from animal pelts to stay warm. You'll scavenge abandoned cabins, carefully search cars, and loot whatever supplies you can find. And the longer you survive, the more self-sufficient you become. You'll start building makeshift shelters, repairing clothes, and cooking meals over a fire. It's slow, deliberate survival, and that's what makes it so addictive. The game also features a story mode called Wintermute, which adds more structure and character-driven narrative. You play as Will Mackenzie, a bush pilot who crash lands in the wilderness after the mysterious event. As you search for your missing passenger, you'll explore the frozen landscape, meet other survivors, and uncover the secrets of what caused the event. The story is emotional and atmospheric, but the real star of the game is still the survival experience itself. Sleeping dogs. Sleeping Dogs is one of the best open world crime games that most people completely slept on, which is a freaking shame. It's basically GTA in Hong Kong, but with way better combat and a more personal story. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop who has to infiltrate the Triads, but it's not just some basic cop vs criminal plot. Wei actually grew up with some of the gang members, so there's this constant struggle between his duty as a cop and his loyalty to people he once called family. The story gets surprisingly heavy, with some brutal twists that'll stick with you. Now, the combat is, here, straight up awesome. Unlike most open world games that rely on guns, this one throws you into fistfights. The hand-to-hand combat is fast, fluid, and brutal. You're chaining punches, counters, and grapples together like you're in a freaking kung fu movie. And the environmental takedowns are so good and chaotic, you can slam a guy's head into a spinning fan, throw someone into a dumpster, or crack their skull against a payphone. It's nasty and gory, but so satisfying. The open world is smaller than something like GTA, but it's incredibly detailed. Hong Kong feels alive and packed. You'll be speeding through neon-lit streets, cutting through night markets, and cruising past towering skyscrapers. The city is dense with life, vendors are shouting, people are gambling in alleyways, and there's this grimy, lived-in vibe that makes it feel authentic. It's the kind of game where you'll wander around just to take in the atmosphere. And let's talk about the driving. It's arcade style and super fun. The cars handle loose and fast, making high-speed chases feel wild. You can drift around tight corners, ram enemy vehicles, and even leap from one car to another, which makes for some insane stunt moments. The bike chases are just as intense. You'll be zipping between cars and kicking riders off their bikes, which is stupidly fun. But what really makes Sleeping Dogs stand out is how much heart it has. Wei Shen is a flawed, relatable character. He's torn between two worlds, and the game actually makes you care about him. The characters around him, like his childhood friend Jackie, are written in a way that makes the betrayals and emotional moments hit harder. It's not just a crime game, it's a story about loyalty, betrayal, and the cost of living a double life. If you love open world crime games and you somehow missed this one, you need to fix that ASAP. It's got fantastic combat, a killer story, and a world that feels authentic. This is one of those games where you'll get sucked into the world, lose track of time, and end up wondering why the hell they never made a sequel. Mad Max. Mad Max is one of the most slept-on open-world games out there. Seriously, if you love games with gritty worlds, brutal combat, and badass vehicles, you're missing out if you haven't played this one. It's set in the Mad Max universe, which basically means desert wastelands, violent warlords, and total chaos. You play as Max, just a broken dude trying to survive in a world gone to hell. The story is simple but effective. Max gets ambushed by Scrotus, a warlord with a face only a mother could punch, and has to rebuild his car, the magnum opus, to take him down. But it's not just about revenge. The whole game is about surviving the wasteland, which is honestly half the fun. Now, the car combat is where this game really shines. You're tearing across the desert, ramming into enemy vehicles, and blowing them up with harpoons and flamethrowers, and bro, it never gets old. You can hook enemy cars with a harpoon and yank the driver out, or rip their tires off and watch them spin out of control. You'll plow through convoys, take out massive war rigs, and leave flaming wreckage in your wake. It's pure chaos in the best way possible. But when you're not wrecking cars, you're wrecking faces. The melee combat is brutal. It's basically Batman Arkham combat, but dirtier. You're punching, countering, and body slamming dudes into the sand. The hits feel weighty and savage, and when Max goes into fury mode, he just straight up demolishes fools. It's bare knuckle brawling at its finest, and it makes every fight feel visceral and raw. The wasteland itself is surprisingly gorgeous, despite being a massive desert. You've got rusted out settlements, twisted metal fortresses, and massive sandstorms that roll in and turn everything into chaos. The storms are honestly insane. They'll blind you with sand, hurl chunks of debris at your car, and make you feel like you're about to get torn apart. And when the sun sets, the game goes from dusty orange to deep eerie blue, making the whole world feel strangely beautiful. There's also a ton of stuff to do. You'll be clearing out enemy camps, taking down sniper towers, and scavenging for scrap to upgrade your car and gear, and the upgrades actually feel worth it. You'll add armor, spikes, and ramming bars to your ride, making it look like something out of a heavy metal album cover. Max himself can also be upgraded. You'll boost his health, fighting skills, and abilities, which makes the later game fights even more fun. What makes Mad Max so freaking addictive is how well it nails the vibe. You're constantly on the edge of survival with limited fuel, ammo, and supplies, which makes every encounter feel tense. You're fighting over scraps, raiding convoys, and watching the desert swallow everything whole. It's grim, dirty, and savage, and that's what makes it so damn fun. Just Cause 3. If you just want to blow stuff up for hours without overthinking, this is your game. You play as Rico Rodriguez, a guy with zero regard for the laws of physics and an endless supply of explosives. Your goal? Take down a dictator named Di Ravello, who's turned the fictional island of Medici into his personal playground. But let's be real, you're not here for the story, you're here to blow up military bases, ride jets into gas stations, and grapple onto helicopters mid-flight. The grappling hook is what makes this game so damn fun. You can hook onto anything, cars, helicopters, fuel tanks, and launch yourself through the air like a freaking superhero, but the real magic is the tether. You can attach two objects together and watch the chaos unfold. Want to tie a jeep to a statue and watch it yank the whole thing down? Go for it! Or maybe hook a gas tank to a helicopter, shoot the tank, and watch it launch into the sky like a rocket. The physics are absolutely ridiculous, and that's why it rules. And then you've got the wingsuit, which is honestly one of the best traversal mechanics ever. You'll be soaring across mountains, diving over beaches, and skimming the tops of trees. When you combine the wingsuit with the grapple, you're basically Spider-Man with explosives. It's so fluid and fun that you'll end up ignoring vehicles half the time just because grappling and gliding is way faster. But don't worry, the vehicles still slap. You've got sports cars, tanks, boats, and fighter jets all just lying around. And since there are no rules, you can just grab a jet, crash it into a base, and wingsuit away like nothing happened. The game rewards you for being reckless, and it never gets old. And the world itself is stunning. Medici is massive, with beautiful beaches, mountain ranges, and Mediterranean towns. You'll be flying over turquoise waters one minute, then paragliding through rocky canyons the next. The visuals still hold up, and the explosions make it even prettier. But what makes Just Cause 3 so damn addictive is how it lets you mess around. The game doesn't care if you ignore the story for 10 hours just to launch cows into the ocean with your grappling hook. You can blow up bridges just because it looks cool, or tether enemy soldiers to helicopters and watch them fly away screaming. It's pure dumb fun, and that's exactly why it rocks. The Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive is one of the most underrated open-world bangers ever made. It's basically Tony Hawk's Pro Skater mixed with Ratchet and Clank but with way more explosions and mutant gore. The game takes place in Sunset City, where a new energy drink called Overcharge has turned people into freaky orange oozing mutants. The plot? You're one of the few survivors, and your goal is simple: raise hell, grind across power lines, and blow up anything that moves. It's stupidly fun and never takes itself seriously, which makes it freaking awesome. The movement is what makes this game so addictive. You're not walking or running, that'd be boring. You're grinding on rails, bouncing off cars, and wall running across skyscrapers like you're in some fever dream version of Jet Set Radio. You can chain moves together, which gives you insane speed and momentum, making it feel fast and fluid the entire time. You're basically skating through a mutant apocalypse, and it never gets old. And the weapons? Freaking insane! You've got guns that launch explosive teddy bears, acid spraying record players, and firework cannons that light up entire streets. It's like Insomniac Games took every ridiculous weapon idea they had and threw them all in at once, and somehow it worked perfectly. You'll be mowing down hordes of mutants while pulling off trick shots mid-grind, and it makes you feel like a friggin' superhero on a sugar rush. The enemies are just as wild. You've got mutants that explode into orange goo, massive bosses that hurl debris, and psychotic human factions trying to take you down. And the game throws them at you in waves, forcing you to stay on the move. If you slow down, you're done for. But the faster you go, the more stylish and chaotic the combat gets. The world itself is bright, colorful, and ridiculous. It's like someone spilled a giant bag of Skittles on a post-apocalypse. There are graffiti-covered skyscrapers, neon-lit factories, and over-the-top set pieces everywhere. You'll be grinding through roller coaster tracks, bouncing off inflatable billboards, and skating across power lines while the world explodes around you. It's pure, colorful mayhem. And the humor is on point. The game is constantly poking fun at gaming tropes and breaking the fourth wall. The characters make fun of side quests, joke about fetch missions, and roast game cliches in a way that actually feels funny instead of forced. It's self-aware without being obnoxious, which makes it feel genuinely fresh. What makes Sunset Overdrive so freaking good is how it doesn't give a crap about realism. You're flying through the air, doing backflips, and blowing up mutant hordes with fireworks, and the game just wants you to have fun. There's no overly serious story, no boring downtime, just pure, fast-paced chaos. The Sinking City. The Sinking City is one of those slow burn, atmospheric, open world games that sucks you in with its creepy vibe and keeps you guessing the whole way through. It's a Lovecraftian detective story, which means you're in for a lot of weirdness, some trippy mind-bending moments, and plenty of unsettling encounters with stuff that shouldn't exist. You play as Charles Reed, a private detective who shows up in Oakmont, a city that's literally drowning under a supernatural flood. The place is falling apart, streets are flooded, buildings are crumbling, and the people are losing their minds. Everyone's either suspicious, crazy, or both, and they all look like they haven't slept in years. You're there to investigate the mystery behind the city's descent into madness, but you've also got your own demons to deal with. Charles keeps having disturbing visions and hallucinations, which only get worse the longer he stays. The detective work is the heart of the game. You'll explore crime scenes, gather clues, and piece together what's going on, but unlike most games, it doesn't hold your hand. There's no blinking objective marker or flashing arrows telling you what to do. You actually have to think like a detective, cross-reference clues, use old school map coordinates, and figure stuff out on your own. It makes you feel like you're solving real cases, which is pretty rare in games. The city itself is creepy as hell. The streets are half flooded, so you'll travel by boat gliding past rotting houses and abandoned piers. Sometimes you'll spot disturbing stuff like mutant fish people dragging bodies or half-sunken wrecks with strange symbols painted on them. The whole place feels sick and rotting, and the oppressive fog makes it even more unsettling. It's the kind of game where you'll find yourself constantly on edge just from the atmosphere alone. And then there's the combat, which, well, isn't the highlight, let's be real. You'll fight nightmarish creatures, slimy tentacled horrors straight out of Lovecraft's fever dream. You'll shoot them with old school guns, but the aiming feels a bit clunky and ammo is super limited, which makes every encounter feel tense and desperate. The game isn't really about the action though, it's about the dread and mystery, and it nails that perfectly. What makes the Sinking City stand out is how immersive and bleak it feels. The people in Oakmont are just as disturbing as the monsters. You'll meet cults, corrupt cops, and rich families with dark secrets, and they're all messed up in their own way. The game doesn't shy away from uncomfortable themes, making the whole thing feel grim and oppressive. Rage 2. Rage 2 is the definition of a dumb, fun time, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not trying to blow your mind with deep storytelling or emotional moments. Nah, this game just wants you to go nuts, blow stuff up, and have a damn blast doing it. It's basically Mad Max on bath salts with bright neon colors, insane weapons, and open-world chaos that never takes itself too seriously. You play as Walker, a no-nonsense badass living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The story? It's there, technically. You're fighting against some evil authority that's trying to control the world, but once again, I know, and let's be real, nobody's here for the plot in these games, you're here for the carnage. The game throws you into a massive open world filled with roving bandits, mutant freaks, and oppressive military goons, and it gives you every tool you need to make them all regret existing. And man, the combat, holy crap. It's fast, brutal, and just pure mayhem. You've got over-the-top guns, but the real fun comes from the abilities. You'll slam into the ground, sending enemies flying like ragdolls. You'll dash around at super speed, crushing skulls before they even see you, and you've got this psychic push push move that lets you yeet people off cliffs or into exploding barrels, it's stupidly satisfying. The whole thing feels like Doom mixed with Just Cause, and it never stops being fun. The open world itself is big and colorful, but it's also kinda empty. You'll ride around in Mad Max style vehicles, but there's not a ton of depth to the exploration. It's mostly just cool places to fight in. You'll find bandit camps, mutant nests, and random chaos waiting to happen, but the world's main purpose is to give you more stuff to destroy. And honestly, that's all it needs to be. Oh, and the vehicles? Freaking wild. You'll be driving around in tanks, monster trucks, and hovercrafts all armed to the teeth. The car combat is actually pretty solid with boosts, mounted guns, and over-the-top explosions. It's not super deep, but it's fun as hell to ram bandit vehicles off the road and watch them go up in flames. Visually, Rage 2 is weirdly beautiful. The wasteland isn't just brown and dusty, it's got vibrant pinks, purples, and oranges splashed everywhere, making it feel surreal and trippy. It's like the Mad Max apocalypse got a cyberpunk paint job, and it weirdly works. But if you're looking for a deep open world experience or meaningful progression, Rage 2 probably ain't it. The side content is pretty repetitive and the world doesn't have much personality outside of the combat, but honestly, who cares? You're here to wreck everything in sight, and in that department, Rage 2 absolutely delivers. It's stupid, loud, and messy as hell, but that's what makes it so fun. Sometimes you just want to shut your brain off and go wild, and Rage 2 nails that perfectly. If you're in the mood for pure chaos, this game won't let you down. Dying Light. Some zombie games let you fight back. Dying Light makes you run for your life. From the moment you start, the game throws you into a massive infected city where the streets are filled with the undead, and the only way to survive is to move fast, think smart, and never stay in one place for too long. You play as Kyle Crane, a guy sent into the quarantine city of Heron on a mission. At first, things seem simple. You do some training, learn how to run and climb, and get your first weapon. But then you step outside, and the world feels dangerous. Zombies are everywhere, and unlike other games, they're not just background decorations. They react to you, they chase you, and if you're not careful, they'll surround you. The game's biggest feature is parkour movement. Instead of just walking or sprinting, you can climb buildings, jump between rooftops, and use the environment to escape danger. It feels smooth and natural, and after just a few minutes, you start thinking like a freerunner, always looking for the next rooftop, ladder, or ledge to grab onto. Combat is brutal and personal. You don't get a lot of guns at first, so you have to use whatever weapons you can find. Crowbars, machetes, baseball bats, even a pipe if that's all you have. Zombies don't go down easily, so every fight feels intense, and because weapons break over time, you have to keep looking for new ones, which adds to the tension. Then there's the night falls. The first time you experience night in Dying Light, everything changes. The regular zombies are still there, but now something much worse is hunting you. The volatile, super fast, ultra-aggressive creatures can hear you, chase you, and kill you in seconds if you're not careful. You can hide, run, or fight, but no matter what you do, the fear of being spotted never goes away. The game hooks you fast. One minute you're learning how to jump between rooftops, the next you're being hunted, running through alleyways, climbing walls, and barely making it to safety. And by the time the sun rises, you'll already be addicted. Prey 2017. Oh man, Prey is one of those games where if you vibe with it, you're gonna get completely sucked in within the first hour. Like, no joke, I booted this thing up just to check it out, and suddenly 3 hours had passed. It's got that kind of pull. Now, if you've never played it, Prey is a sci-fi immersive sim. Think BioShock, but in space, with a whole lot of paranoia and mystery thrown in. You wake up on this slick, futuristic space station Talos 1, and everything seems kinda normal until, well, it's absolutely not. The game throws you into this crazy, mind-bending situation where you start questioning everything, and that's what makes Prey so damn addicting. Right away, it hooks you with that mystery. Then there's the gameplay. It's got that Arcane Studios magic, where you're given all these cool tools and freedom to figure things out in your own way. You're not just running down hallways shooting aliens. This game makes you think. Do you sneak around? Do you turn into a coffee mug to avoid enemies? Yeah, that's a real thing, and it's as fun as it sounds. The Typhon, these terrifying black, inky alien creatures, can mimic objects, so you'll constantly be second-guessing whether that chair in the corner is actually a chair, or if it's about to lunge at your face. And then you hit that moment, the one that seals the deal. You unlock some alien abilities, suddenly you're zipping around like a sci-fi wizard, and the game just opens up. You start seeing all these hidden paths and creative ways to get past obstacles, and that's when the addiction kicks in. You're like, wait, what if I use this power here? Or what if I stack these objects to climb up there? Next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. and you've accidentally played for 7 hours straight. If you love games that make you feel smart, let you experiment, and throw you into a world that feels like a puzzle box just waiting to be cracked open, Prey is an absolute must. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't spoon-feed you solutions, and that's what makes it so damn satisfying. It's got that perfect mix of tension, exploration, and holy crap, did I just pull that off moments. It might start slow for some, but once you're in, you're in. Prey is the kind of game where you sit down for just one more objective, and suddenly the sun is rising, you've been warned. The Vampyr. So, Vampyr is a game where you play as a doctor, but also you're a vampire. Yeah, things get complicated real fast. The game is set in old-timey London where the streets are dark, the fog is thick, and people are getting sick everywhere. You wake up as Dr. Jonathan Reed, and suddenly, you're a vampire. You don't know how or why, but you need blood, and that's a big problem because you're supposed to be saving lives, not taking them. The whole game is about choices. You meet people, and every single one of them has a story. You can talk to them, help them with their problems, even cure their illnesses. But here's the thing, if you want to get stronger, you have to drink blood. And once you kill someone, they're gone forever. Their friends will notice, their family will grieve, and the entire city will change because of it. That's what makes this game so different. It doesn't just let you be a vampire. It makes you think about it. Of course, there's fighting too. There are vampire hunters, creepy monsters, and even other vampires, and you have all sorts of cool abilities to take them down. You can teleport short distances, drain blood, attack super fast, even create giant spikes of blood to hit enemies. The more you feed, the stronger you get, but that also means giving up on being the good guy. What's really cool is that you can finish the whole game without killing innocent people. It just makes things much harder. It's not just about fighting though. The game is slow and mysterious, more about the story than action. You spend a lot of time exploring, talking to people, and figuring out who they really are before deciding if you'll help them or use them. And the game reacts to everything you do. If too many people die, the city starts falling apart. If you keep the people safe, London survives, but you'll be weaker. So yeah, if you like vampire stories, dark mystery vibes, and making big choices, Vampyr is really cool. It makes you feel like you're actually living in this world, making tough decisions and dealing with the consequences. And once you start, you'll want to keep going just to see what happens next. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a game that feels like a big, fun space adventure. Right from the start, you jump into a wild story with cool characters, funny jokes, and lots of action. It feels like a movie, but you get to control what happened. You play as Star-Lord, the leader of the Guardians, but you don't fight alone, your team is always with you. Rocket is small, but really smart. Groot can trap enemies with his vines. Drax is super strong, and Gamora is fast with her sword. In battles, you tell them what to do, and they help you fight. It makes you feel like you're leading a real team instead of fighting by... There's also a cool move where you bring everyone together for a pep talk, and if you choose the right words, your team fights even better while an awesome song plays in the background. The story is really good. It's not just action, it has funny moments and sad moments too. The characters talk a lot, sometimes arguing, sometimes joking, and sometimes saying things that make you care about them, and what you say to them matters. If you make one choice, a character might trust you more. If you pick something else, they might get mad. It makes the story feel personal, like you are really part of the team. This game is way better than people expected. It's not a boring online game, it's not a superhero game with just fighting. It's a fun, story-driven adventure with great characters, fun battles, and awesome music. If you like action games with good stories and funny moments, you will love Guardians of the Galaxy. Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human is a game where your choices change everything. It's like an interactive movie, but you control the story. There's no right or wrong way to play, you just make decisions and the game reacts. Every little thing you do can change what happens next, and that makes it super exciting. The story takes place in the future, where robots called androids are everywhere. People use them for work, cleaning, and taking care of things, but something is happening. Some of these androids start to feel emotions. They don't just follow orders anymore. Some want freedom, some want to help humans, some don't know what to do, and you get to control 3 of them. The game is all about decisions. What you say, what you do, who you trust, it all changes the story. Characters can live or die because of your choices, and even tiny actions can affect how things end. You never know what's coming next, and that makes the game feel so real. The world looks amazing with characters that feel alive, their faces, their voices, their emotions. It's like watching a movie, but you're the one in control. And because there are so many different choices, you can play it again and again and always get a new story. If you love games with deep stories, emotional moments, and big decisions, Detroit Become Human is something you don't want to miss. It makes you think, it makes you feel, and once you start playing, you won't want to stop.
From Cyberlife Stories.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the best Tomb Raider games. This time Lara Croft goes on a dangerous adventures to find lost secrets. This time she's looking for the divine source, something that might give people eternal life. But she's not the only one who wants it. A secret group called Trinity is also hunting for it, and they'll do anything to get there first. Right from the start, this game pulls you in, you climb icy mountains, sneak through ancient ruins, and fight enemies in snowy forests. The world is big and beautiful, full of caves, tombs, and secret places waiting to be explored, and it's not just about running and jumping, there's a lot of survival too. Lara has to hunt animals, craft weapons, and use the environment to stay alive. The combat feels really good. You can fight enemies with a bow, sneak up on them silently, or go in with guns blazing, but the best part, the tombs. They are full of tricky puzzles, hidden traps, and old treasures. Solving them feels super satisfying, and every tomb has its own little story. As you play, Lara gets stronger. You unlock new moves, upgrade weapons, and learn new skills to survive better. The more you explore, the more secrets you find, and it makes the game feel rewarding. The story is also really interesting. Lara isn't just some action hero. She's trying to prove something, trying to understand what happened to her father, and pushing herself past her limits. She's not perfect, she struggles, she falls, but she keeps going, and that's what makes her such a great character. If you love games with exploration, adventure, and action, Rise of the Tomb Raider is perfect. It's exciting, fun, and full of mystery, and once you start playing, you won't want to stop. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. You ever wanted to actually feel like a Jedi, not just swinging a lightsaber around, but really learning how to be one? That's Jedi Fallen Order. It's not just a game where you button mash through enemies, it's about surviving, growing, and mastering the Force. You play as Cal Kestis, a Jedi in hiding. After the Empire wiped out almost all the Jedi, he's just trying to stay out of trouble. But, of course, trouble finds him. One small mistake and suddenly the entire Empire is hunting him down, including the Inquisitors, these terrifying Sith-trained warriors whose whole job is killing Jedi. So now, instead of hiding, Cal has to fight back. But here's what makes this game so special. It doesn't just hand you Jedi powers and let you go crazy. You start off weak, barely able to hold your own in a fight. But as you play, you train. You unlock new Force abilities, master your lightsaber, and actually become a Jedi. The combat is tactical. You can't just spam attacks, you have to block, dodge, and time your strikes. Every enemy, from stormtroopers to giant alien monsters, can take you down if you're not careful. It's more like Dark Souls than a simple action game, and every fight feels intense because of it. And the world? It's incredible. You travel to different planets, each one filled with secrets, puzzles, and ancient Jedi temples. There's no map full of waypoints telling you exactly where to go. You have to explore. And the more you explore, the more powerful you become. You find old Jedi ruins, unlock hidden upgrades, and piece together the history of what happened before the Empire took over. But it's not just about the action. Cal's story is actually good. complicated. He's not some perfect, all-powerful Jedi. He's broken, lost, and trying to figure out who he really is. Along the way, he meets a crew of misfits, including BD-1, one of the best little droid companions in any Star Wars game. Seriously, BD-1 is adorable and you will love him. The best part, the game makes you feel like a Jedi. Using the Force to pull an enemy toward you, throwing your lightsaber in the middle of battle, or wall running like you're in Titanfall, it just feels right. And by the time you reach the end, you've earned it. You've gone from a scared survivor to a full-on Jedi warrior, and that's what makes the journey so satisfying. If you love Star Wars, great combat, and epic adventure, Jedi Fallen Order is a game you need to play. It's challenging, exciting, and one of the best Star Wars stories in years.
The choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
Plague Tale Requiem. If you played A Plague Tale Innocence, you already know how intense this series is. If you haven't, oh man, you're in for something special. A Plague Tale Requiem takes everything from the first game, the heart-pounding story, the emotional moments, the crazy rat swarms, and cranks it up to another level. This time, Amisha and Hugo are trying to escape their past. After everything they went through, they just want peace, a new home, a fresh start. But of course, life doesn't work like that. The plague is spreading again, the world is still brutal, and Hugo's mysterious powers are getting stronger. He's connected to the rats in ways that are terrifying, and as the game goes on, you start to wonder, is there any way to stop this, or is he doomed? The gameplay is stealth-focused. You're not some overpowered warrior. You can't just charge in and fight. Amisha has to be smart. You sneak, you use distractions, you set up traps, and when things go bad, you have to run. But here's what makes Requiem different. This time, Amisha fights back. She's older, angrier, and not afraid to kill when she has to. You get more weapons, more tools, and you can turn the rats against your enemies, which is just as awesome and horrifying as it sounds. And those rats, yeah, they are worse than ever. There are millions of them now. The way they move, the way they chase you, it's pure nightmare fuel. You'll be running across rooftops, watching as the streets below get swallowed in a sea of squeaking, writhing death. It's honestly terrifying, but also, it's beautiful. The game is stunning, from sunlit countryside fields to dark, ruined cities overrun by rats. Everything looks incredible. It's one of the best looking games out there. But the real reason this game hits so hard is the story. Amicia and Hugo's journey is emotional. They love each other, but they're also breaking under the pressure. Hugo is scared of himself, and Amicia is desperate to save him, even if it means becoming something she doesn't want to be. And the people they meet, some help, some betray, some just try to survive. It makes the world feel real, like everyone is fighting their own battle. Requiem isn't just about sneaking and running from rats, it's about survival, love, and the price you pay for protecting the people you care about. And by the end, you won't forget this story. LA Noire. This is the most underrated game from Rockstar. LA Noire is a detective game set in Los Angeles in the 1940s. You play as Cole Phelps, a cop who wants to solve crimes and clean up the city. But things aren't that simple. LA is full of corruption, secrets, and lies. And the more you investigate, the more you realize that even the police can't be trusted. Also, one of the first things I'd love to mention is the atmosphere. Man, this game really makes you feel like you're in the 1940s. Even graphically, the lighting and everything fit that colorful yet old school vibe of Los Angeles. One of my favorite aspects of this game. But anyway, this isn't an action game where you run around shooting people all the time. Instead, it's about finding clues, asking questions, and figuring out the truth. After a crime happens, you visit the scene, look for evidence, and talk to witnesses and suspects. But here's the cool part, people lie. You have to watch their faces closely to see if they're telling the truth or hiding something. Their eyes might shift, they might fidget, or they might look too confident. If you catch a lie, you can press them for the truth, or even accuse them. The game takes you through different police departments, from small street crimes to big murder cases. As you solve more cases, you get promoted, but you also get dragged into a bigger mystery about the dark side of LA. The city looks amazing, with classic cars, old-style buildings, and a film noir vibe that makes everything feel like an old detective movie. There is some action too. Sometimes suspects run and you have to chase them on foot or in a car. Other times things get dangerous and you have to shoot criminals in intense gunfights. But the real challenge is solving cases. If you mess up, you might accuse the wrong person or let the real criminal go free. The story is serious and deep. Cole Phelps isn't a perfect hero. He has his own secrets, and as the game goes on, you start to see his flaws. The people around him also have their own agendas, and by the end, you realize that being a cop in LA isn't just about doing the right right thing. It's about surviving in a world full of lies. If you love detective stories, crime mysteries, and making tough choices, LA Noire is a game you should try. It's slow, smart, and makes you think like a real detective. Metal Gear Rising's Revengeance. This game is pure, unfiltered chaos in the best way possible. Platinum Games took the Metal Gear name, threw out all the sneaky, tactical espionage stuff, and cranked the action up to 11. And man, what they created is one of the most insane, over-the-top, hype-inducing hack-and-slash games ever made. You play as Raiden, a cyborg ninja who can slice through basically anything, and I mean anything. The combat is all about precision, cutting. You can literally slow down time and manually carve enemies into pieces with this ridiculous free slicing mechanic. But the real magic comes from how fast and aggressive everything is. There's no block button, no hiding behind cover. Instead, it's all about parrying. Enemies come at you hard, and the only way to survive is to fight back harder. You read their attacks, time your parries right, and when you do, you don't just defend, you shut them down and counterattack like an absolute beast. And then there's Zandatsu. The best damn mechanic in the game. Land enough hits, and you can go into blade mode, slow time, and carve enemies open to rip out their glowing cyber spine, refilling your energy and keeping the slaughter going non-stop. It never gets old. Every single fight, every encounter is just pure adrenaline, like the game is daring you to go faster, hit harder, and play flashier. But what really sells this game is the boss fights. Every single one of them is just next level. You've got cyborg freaks like Jetstream Sam, Monsoon, Sundowner, each one with their own crazy fighting styles and abilities, and every encounter feels like it was made to push you to your limits. And then there's Senator Armstrong, one of the most legendary final bosses of all time. No spoilers, but let's just say it's one of those fights that sticks with you forever. And the soundtrack, Jesus, this is one of those rare games where the music isn't just good, it's part of the experience. The way the vocals kick in during boss fights, how the intensity ramps up exactly when you need it, there's nothing else like it. Tracks like Rules of Nature, It Has to Be This Way, The Only Thing I Know for Real, these aren't just songs, they're power-ups. You hear them and suddenly you're playing like a god. Story-wise, yeah, it's a Metal Gear game, so there's still a bit of that political nonsense and deep lore floating around, but unlike the main series, Rising doesn't slow down to explain every detail. It knows you're here for the action, so it keeps the cutscenes ridiculous and entertaining without getting too bogged down. Raiden himself goes through some crazy character development too, shifting from the controlled, disciplined warrior to someone who just embraces the chaos. Graphically, yeah, it's an older game, but it still holds up. The animations are silky smooth, the effects make every sword swing feel powerful, and the environments, while not the most detailed, do their job well enough to never distract from the real star of the show, the combat. Bottom line, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is a must-play for anyone who loves action games. It's short, it's insane, and every second of it is pure concentrated hype. No filler, no downtime, just you, a sword, and the absolute need to cut through everything in your way. If you haven't played this yet, fix that. Ryse, Son of Rome. Ryse Son of Rome is one of those games that feels like it was designed to be a visual showcase first and a deep gameplay experience second. This was a launch title for the Xbox One, and even now, years later, it still looks incredible. The level of detail in the armor, the lighting, the environments, it all feels like it was made to impress, and honestly, it still does. You play as Marius Titus, a Roman soldier whose family gets slaughtered by barbarians. What starts as a simple revenge story quickly turns into a full-blown war campaign, taking you across massive battles, burning cities, and political betrayals. It's cinematic as hell. The game constantly throws epic moments at you, huge battles where soldiers clash in formation, siege weapons, raining destruction, and slow-motion executions that make every kill feel brutal. Now, let's talk about the combat. It's simple, but damn, it feels satisfying. You're not pulling off long combos like in Devil May Cry or juggling enemies in the air. Instead, it's all about timing blocking, countering, and chaining together brutal executions. The game even slows down downtime to highlight the most brutal moments, like stabbing a guy through the throat or slicing off a limb, and while the animations do repeat, they never stop looking cool. Every fight feels heavy, like you're really swinging a sword, not just button mashing through waves of enemy. That said, the combat doesn't really evolve much. You unlock new executions, sure, but you're mostly doing the same thing from start to finish. The game tries to keep things fresh with formations, where you and your fellow soldiers raise shields to block arrows or push forward against enemies, but those moments are more about spectacle than gameplay depth. Still, it's fun for what it is, short, sharp, and brutally effective. What really makes Ryse stand out is the presentation. It's hands down one of the best looking games of its time, and even now it holds up ridiculously well. The environments are stunning, Roman streets full of detail, massive coliseums, burning forests, and massive battles happening in the background. The cinematics are just as polished, making everything feel larger than life. The way characters move, the expressions on their faces, it all adds to the experience, making it feel more like an interactive movie than a traditional game. The story itself was, it's pretty straightforward. There's betrayal, there's war, and there's a lot of yelling about honor, Rome, and revenge. Marius is your typical stoic warrior, doing whatever it takes to protect the Empire, and while the plot doesn't break any new ground, it keeps you engaged just enough to push forward. It's got that classic historical drama vibe, full of conspiracies and larger-than-life figures, even if it plays fast and loose with actual history. The biggest downside thought was that it's damn short. You can finish the whole thing in about 6 or 7 hours, and since the combat doesn't have a ton of variety, it doesn't leave much reason to replay it. But honestly, for what it is, Ryse Son of Rome is a blast while it lasts. It's one of those games that might not be deep, but it knows exactly what it wants to be. A cinematic, over-the-top action game with jaw-dropping visuals and satisfyingly brutal combat. If you like historical settings, hack-and-slash combat, and games that just look damn good, this one's worth checking out. It might not be a masterpiece, but it's a fun, bloody ride through ancient Rome. The prototype. Now this is what happens when a hack-and-slash game decides it doesn't need swords, just pure carnage. Prototype is one of those games that just feels violent in the best way possible. You're not some noble warrior or demon hunter, you're Alex Mercer, a walking biological weapon who can slice, smash, and tear through anything in your path. This game doesn't care about looking flashy or stylish, it's all about raw, destructive power, and damn does it deliver. The story's actually pretty interesting. Alex wakes up in a morgue with no memory of how he got there, but suddenly, he's got insane shape-shifting powers, and a whole city full of people who either want to kill him or get the hell away from him. Manhattan is being overrun by a mysterious virus, and Alex is right in the middle of it, trying to figure out what happened to him, while also getting way too comfortable turning people into chunks of meat. The way the game lets you absorb people's memories by literally consuming them is such a cool way to drip feed the story, but let's be real, the main reason you play Prototype is for the combat. You don't just fight people, you obliterate them. Alex can shapeshift his body into a bunch of different weapons. Massive claws that rip enemies apart, a giant blade arm that can cut tanks in half, brutal hammer fists that send shockwaves through the streets, and a whip-like tendril that lets you snatch helicopters out of the sky. Every attack feels like it has real weight to it, and the way enemies get ragdolled across the city just never gets old. And the movement is absolutely ridiculous in a so fun way. You're not just running down the street, you're sprinting up the sides of skyscrapers, leaping over entire city blocks, gliding through the air, and slamming down onto enemies from insane heights. It makes every mission fun, because even when you're just going from point A to point B, you're launching yourself across the city like some unstoppable force of destruction. The enemy variety is solid too. You've got military forces constantly trying to take you down with tanks and helicopters, plus these grotesque infected monsters that turn New York into a war zone. The game keeps things hectic, and since you can steal vehicles, hijack weapons, and absorb enemies to disguise yourself, there are so many ways to approach combat. Visually, yeah, it's a bit rough around the edges, but the sheer chaos on screen makes up for it. The city gets wrecked as the infection spreads, and by the end, Manhattan looks like a battlefield straight out of a horror movie. And while the game doesn't have a deep emotional story, Alex Mercer himself is just cool. He's not some heroic figure, he's an anti-hero with no problems slaughtering everything in his way, and that ruthless attitude makes him stand out from other action game protagonists. You know, if there's one complaint, it's that the side missions can get repetitive. A lot of them boil down to, go here, kill everything, but honestly, that's Prototype in a nutshell. It's not about complex mechanics or deep storytelling, it's about being an absolute monster, wrecking an entire city, and feeling unstoppable while doing it. If you want a hack and slash game that ditches swords and elegance for pure destruction, Prototype is exactly what you're looking for. Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is straight up one of the most fun hack and slash games to come out in years. It's got that perfect mix of slick combat, over-the-top action, and a killer soundtrack that makes every fight feel like a freaking music video. If you love games that don't take themselves too seriously but still deliver an insanely polished experience, this one's a must-play. You play as Chai, a wannabe rock star who gets caught up in a shady cybernetic experiment and accidentally ends up with an MP3 player fused into his frickin' heart. That means everything around him, his movements, attacks, even the damn environment, syncs to the beat of the music, and let me tell you, it's addicting. The combat doesn't just encourage you to stay on rhythm, it outright rewards you for it. Attacks hit harder, combos flow smoother, and even dodging feels more stylish when you time it with the beat. It's like playing Devil May Cry, but your combo game is your sense of rhythm. The gameplay is just pure joy. You're slicing through enemies with Chai's makeshift guitar weapon, pulling off flashy aerial combos, and dodging attacks like you're part of some synchronized rock concert. The best part? Even if you're not perfect at staying on beat, the game doesn't punish you too hard, but when you do lock into the rhythm and start stringing together perfectly timed hits, damn, it feels good. And the enemy variety? Solid. You've got security bots, crazy mechanical beasts, and big boss fights that all move in sync with the soundtrack. The game constantly throws new challenges at you, keeping things fresh. The bosses in particular are some of the most creative fights I've seen in a hack and slash game, with each one having its own unique mechanics that force you to adapt and keep the rhythm going. But honestly, what makes Hi-Fi Rush special is the vibe. It's got this colorful, animated art style that feels like a playable Saturday morning cartoon, mixed with an attitude that's just fun without being cringy. Chai himself is a lovable goofball, and the whole cast is packed with personality. You've got a talking robotic cat, a badass hacker ally, and a bunch of quirky villains that feel straight out of a comic book. It's all super lighthearted, but it works. It's also super accessible. Unlike a lot of rhythm-based games, Hi-Fi Rush doesn't force you to be perfect, it just encourages you to play in sync with the music, so whether you're a rhythm game pro or just someone who loves stylish action, it's a blast. Long story short, this is one of the freshest, most creative hack and slash games in years. It's got energy, personality, and some of the smoothest, most rewarding combat out there. If you haven't played Hi-Fi Rush yet, fix that immediately. Final Fantasy 16. But let's just get this out of the way. Final Fantasy 16 is not your typical Final Fantasy game. Yeah, it's got the name, the crystals, and the summons, but let's be real, this thing plays way more like a straight-up hack-and-slash action game than a traditional RPG. And you know what? That's totally fine, because the combat here is insane. You play as Clive Rosfield, who's basically the most battle-hardened, revenge-fueled protagonist the series has ever had. The story kicks off with some Game of Thrones levels of political drama, betrayal, and brutal wars between kingdoms, but what really steals the show is the Ekon battles. These aren't just little summon animations, these are full-blown god-tier kaiju fights where you're thrown down with massive creatures like Ifrit, Bahamut, and Shiva in the most over-the-top cinematic combat sequences you've ever seen in a Final Fantasy game. And speaking of combat, this is where the game just goes off. It's designed by Ryota Suzuki, the guy who worked on Devil May Cry 5 and Dragon's Dogma, and you feel it. Clive doesn't just swing a sword, he's flipping, dashing, juggling enemies mid-air, and pulling off some ridiculous combo chains using different elemental powers from the Akons he absorbs. It's all real-time, no turn-based stuff here, just pure, fluid, high-speed action. If you've ever wanted Final Fantasy to go full-on Devil May Cry, this is it. But it's not just mindless button mashing. Every ability you unlock adds a new layer to the combat. You've got Phoenix's fiery dashes, Garuda's aerial grabs, Titan's massive earth-shattering punches, and a whole mix of abilities that let you really customize how you want to fight. And once you start unlocking more of them, man, you feel unstoppable. The world itself is beautiful too. This is one of the darkest and grittiest Final Fantasy games ever made. Kingdoms are at war, people are being enslaved, and magic is literally draining the life out of the land. It's a depressing world, but that just makes the journey even more intense. The characters, all top tier. Clive is one of the most brutal Final Fantasy protagonists we've ever had, and the supporting cast, especially Sid and Jill, bring so much depth to the story. Now, is the game perfect? Nah. If you're looking for deep RPG mechanics, there's not a ton here. Side quests can be a bit fetch questy, and some fans might miss the traditional party system since you mostly fight solo, but honestly, the combat, the cinematics, and the boss battles more than make up for it. If you're into hack and slash games, this is one of the best Final Fantasy titles you could ever ask for. It's got huge spectacle, amazing combat, and some of the most insane boss fights in the franchise. So yeah, if you haven't played Final Fantasy 6 East yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. You will not regret it.